I hid my ring and played the office's single girl. Now I'm jobless and begging my fiancé for help after he vanished with the wedding fund. You know how sometimes you make these little decisions that seem totally fine at the time, but then they snowball into this massive avalanche of crap that buries your entire life. That's basically what happened to me. I'm Martha, 28 years old, and I had this perfect life with an amazing fiancé who adored me, until I made one tiny choice that blew everything up. Now I'm sitting here jobless, broke, and begging for help from the man I betrayed. Between us, I still don't think what I did was that bad, but apparently James did. James and I had been together for 3 years, living together for 2 of them. He was this sweet, successful guy who treated me like a princess. Last year, he proposed with this gorgeous ring, $18, $500 he'd saved up for 2 years to buy. I cried, said yes, and posted about 1,000,000 pictures on Instagram. Everyone was so happy for us. We started planning this beautiful wedding, and James even set up a separate account with $40. They were known for everything: venue, catering, honeymoon, the works. Life was perfect. But here's the thing about working in business consulting appearances: everything. I noticed early on that the women who wore engagement rings at my office got treated differently. The male colleagues would be more formal, less likely to include them in after-work drinks, definitely less likely to flirt. And call me crazy, but I liked the attention. I liked being seen as desirable, not just some guy's fiancé. So I made this executive decision to leave my ring at home when I went to work. James didn't notice at first. I mean, you'd think a guy would notice when his fiancé isn't wearing the ring he spent 2 years saving for. But James was always a bit oblivious. I had the system down: take it off right before leaving for work, tuck it safely in my purse, then slip it back on the moment I walked through our door in the evening. It was seamless. And honestly, it made my work life so much better. The first time James noticed was when he surprised me at lunch one day. He brought my favorite sandwich from that deli across town. So sweet. Right. And when he handed it to me, he looked at my hand and asked, "Where's your ring?" I swear my heart stopped for a second. I hadn't expected him to notice, let alone call me out on it. I played it cool, though. "Oh, I don't wear it to work," I said, unwrapping my sandwich like it was no big deal. "Since when?" he asked, looking confused. "Since always, James," I replied, avoiding eye contact. "I've never worn it to work." He looked genuinely stunned. "Is there a reason why? Does it get in the way of typing or something?" I gave him my practiced response. "It's not professional," I said, waving my bare left hand. "And honestly, I don't owe anyone my relationship status. It's easier to keep things strictly business." He dropped it at lunch, but that evening he brought it up again while I was making dinner. "I didn't realize your workplace was so traditional about jewelry. Seems odd in 2023. I sighed, putting down my knife. "James, you're overthinking this. Lots of professional women don't wear engagement rings to work. It changes how male colleagues treat you. It's my choice. Do I need to report every piece of jewelry I decide not to wear?" I snapped, rolling my eyes. That pretty much ended the conversation. I was a little irritated that he was making such a big deal out of nothing, but I figured it would blow over. 2 weeks later, everything exploded. James was scrolling through Instagram and saw a post from Keith, one of my coworkers. It was a group photo from our office happy hour, and I was right in the center, holding a cocktail and laughing. The caption said, "Thursday drinks with the team. Office's favorite single girl, showing us how it's done. Work family, thirsty Thursday, single girl." I guess James zeroed in on those words, single girl, because later that night, when I came home with my ring dutifully back on my finger, he was unusually quiet. He didn't confront me or mention the photo. He just watched me with this weird expression, like he was seeing me for the first time. I should have known something was wrong, but I was too wrapped up in myself to notice. The next morning, I did my usual routine, slipped off the ring, dropped it in my purse, kissed James goodbye, and headed to work. What I didn't know was that James was sitting at our kitchen counter for a long time after I left, probably plotting his revenge. That afternoon, he called his friend Eric, who works in the same industry. I don't know exactly what Eric said, but it must have confirmed James's suspicions. That evening, while I was in the shower, James did something I never thought he'd do. He checked my phone. I know. Invasion of privacy? Right. But he found everything. My secret Instagram account, my active Tinder profile, and all those flirty texts with Keith and other guys. He took screenshots, emailed them to himself, and put my phone back like nothing happened. For 2 days, he pretended everything was fine. He'd come home, ask about my day, make small talk, all while secretly planning his escape. I had no idea. On the 3rd day, after I left for work, he made his move. He packed his important things, loaded them into his truck, and went to the bank. Remember that wedding account with $42? Well, James had secretly added my name to it the month before, planning to surprise me with full access to book whatever I wanted for our wedding. Instead, he closed the entire account and transferred all the money back into his personal account, which I couldn't touch. Then he drove to his friend Mark's lake house and disappeared. The text started at 2:00 p.m. James. What the hell? The wedding venue just called and said our money bounced. I called the bank and they told me the account was closed. Answer the phone right now. I kept calling and texting, but he didn't respond. By evening, my tone had shifted from angry to desperate. James, please talk to me. I don't understand what's going on. Whatever you think is happening, we can fix it. Please call me back. I love you. Please don't do this. The next day, I went home at lunch and found some of his things missing. That's when the panic really set in. You moved out without talking to me. What the hell is wrong with you? This is ridiculous. You can't throw away 3 years for nothing. Please, James, I beg you, whatever the issue is, we can work it out. Still nothing. Then my most recent message. Oh God, did someone tell you something? Is this about work-related issues? I can explain anything. I swear it's not what you think. That evening, James finally responded, but he didn't call or text. He sent me 4 things. A screenshot of Keith's Instagram post calling me the office's favorite single girl. A screenshot from my Tinder profile. A screenshot of my text to Keith saying how James didn't know about us. And a photo of his empty ring box. No comment. Just the evidence. I freaked out. I called him, texted him, emailed him everything. I went to our apartment, which was now just mine since he'd paid the next 3 months' rent, but removed himself from the lease. When I couldn't find him, I tried contacting his friends, his family, even his boss. I was hysterical, crying and begging people to tell me where he was. No one would help me. After 3 days of silence from James, my texts became increasingly desperate. My credit card is maxed out, so I can't even buy food. I was counting on our joint account to cover rent next week. I'm terrified. Please help me. Keith just told me they're letting me go from work. Someone forwarded the screenshots to HR. Was it you? How could you do this to me? My parents won't even speak to me? What have you told them? For the record, James didn't send anything to HR or my parents. He didn't have to. Keith panicked when he found out James had their texts and confessed everything to our supervisor in an attempt to get ahead of the situation. As for my parents, they figured it out when I called them hysterical about James emptying our wedding account. My dad called James, and when he heard his side, including seeing the evidence, he just sighed heavily and said, "She's always been her own worst enemy." I'm sorry, son. It's been 2 weeks now. James has moved to a new apartment and filed for a clean break. Fortunately, we weren't married yet, so it's just a matter of dividing our few shared belongings. He kept the furniture he brought into the relationship and let me keep the items we purchased together. Fair is fair, I guess. The ring, still in James's truck's glove compartment, I suppose. Last night, James finally responded to one of my calls. Not out of weakness or forgiveness, but to end it. What do you want, Martha? He asked calmly. I cried. I need help. James, they're threatening eviction. My cards are all maxed out. I have no one else to turn to. You had me, he replied gently. A man who loved you enough to buy you a ring you never wore and set aside money for a wedding you never intended to have. And you threw it away. These are your choices? Not mine. I've made a terrible mistake. I sobbed. I was confused and dumb. We can fix this. There is no us anymore. Martha, figure it out for yourself. Then he hung up and blocked my number. I can't believe he's being so cruel. I mean, yes, I may have presented myself as single at work. And yes, I may have flirted with some coworkers, but it was just harmless fun. I never actually cheated on James. I was going to marry him. For God's sake. The ring was always waiting for me at home. The wedding was still happening. He's completely overreacting and leaving me to deal with the fallout. Now I'm jobless, broke, and facing eviction. I've had to move back in with my parents, which is humiliating at 28 years old. My dad is disappointed in me. My mom keeps asking why I wasn't satisfied with James, and I have no good answers. I've applied for dozens of jobs, but once they call my previous employer for references, I never hear back. Keith told me that HR is giving me a terrible reference, saying I violated company policies by engaging in inappropriate relationships with coworkers. I tried reaching out to James again through a friend's phone, but he's not budging. He actually sold the ring, can you believe that? After all the effort he put into buying it. He just sold it at a 30% loss. He used some of the money to book a solo trip to Montana. Like he's just moving on with his life while mine is falling apart. The worst part is that some of our mutual friends are taking his side. They've seen the screenshots he sent, and they think I'm some kind of monster. I tried explaining that it wasn't as bad as it looked, that I was just enjoying the attention at work, but they don't want to hear it. Even my sister, who I used to be close to, is barely speaking to me. I keep thinking about how differently things could have gone if James had just talked to me instead of disappearing. If he'd confronted me, I could have reassured him that he was the one I wanted, that the flirting was meaningless. But instead, he chose to destroy our relationship and leave me with nothing. My parents are talking about making me get therapy and find a new career path. They think I have narcissistic personality traits or something. I think they're being dramatic. I just made a few poor choices, didn't I? Everyone deserves a second chance. Right. Last week, I ran into James at the grocery store. He looked different, thinner, more relaxed, like a weight had been lifted off his shoulders. I approached him carefully and asked if we could talk sometime. He told me that while he was glad I was getting help, he didn't see the point in rehashing old wounds. As he was leaving, he said something that stuck with me. I never deserved the ring, not because of what I did, but because I never realized what it meant. For once, we agreed on something. But it doesn't change the fact that he left me with nothing while he gets to start fresh with $42, zero and no consequences. How is that fair? I'm the one suffering here. Losing my job, my reputation, my fiancé, my home. And all because I didn't wear a ring to work and had a little fun on the side. It seems like a pretty extreme punishment, if you ask me. I still don't think what I did was that bad. People present different versions of themselves at work all the time. It's called being professional. James just didn't understand the pressures of my industry. But now I'm paying the price while he gets to play the victim and move on with his life. Sometimes life just isn't fair. You know,